Anyway, by the way, you gave. I'm sorry, my wife is groaning in the other room, but you know, you gave a great lead in there about the sun coming out tomorrow and musicals. And if you want to talk to a guy who knows a few things about musicals, here's a fella who's written a book about the Fantastics. He's also written, I believe, about A Chorus Line with Bjork Lee. And this fella, by the way, is named Robert Viagas. He used to run Playbill.com. He was my boss for a while, and then we're just coworkers and now longtime friends. Hello, Robert Viagas. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Robert, let me introduce Iris Dorbian up in the corner, and Ronald Rand. He publishes The Soul of the American Actor newspaper that I know you know about.
A pleasure.
Nice to see you.
Hello. Robert, let me ask you, as I lose most of your body and just have your head and chin. There we go.
I'm sitting here with Audrey 3, by the way.
Oh,
you know why? Because Robert was doing a lot of gallivanting on the Facebook. I saw he was gallivanting around.
You were gallivanting. Where were you gallivanting, Robert?
He was gallivanting.
You're Sir Gallivant. But tell me, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Let me go theatrical. What was your favorite show on Broadway or off Broadway this year?
I have to say, I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed about this because it's such an old-fashioned show, but I really loved Some Like It Hot. I just loved that show. And I wish that it had been more. Don't forget, last couple of years, we've seen some amazing experimental shows between Hamilton and Hadestown and all sorts of the wonderful shows, Strange Loop. To turn around and say, like, the most fun that I had at a show was at Some Like It Hot. I guess I'm a little embarrassed, but I'm also not. Wonderful Broadway talent. Everybody in the show is wonderful. The writing is terrific. The songs are terrific. The dancing is terrific. And they've really found a way to make it contemporary. There have been a bunch of shows adapted from films where the main actor is in drag. I mean, there was Tootsie, right. There was Mrs. Doubtfire, and now they have this show where they got two guys in drag. And this was really the first show that really figured out how to make it seem like a 2022 story and not a 1957 story.
Well, it's interesting because you're mentioning this just about 10 minutes ago. We had my old friend Charles Gross on. He's a critic. Mm-hmm. He does Two on the Aisle. And his favorite musical was Some Like It Hot. Also, he felt it was a little bit too woke. We didn't really have time to get into why or what about it made him cringe a little and go like, "Oh, come on!" But you didn't find it. You thought the update was great, right?
No, I mean, look at that. We're living in the 2020s. You have to write something that is significant to the time in which you live. And I think they really did a wonderful job of it. They were working from this universally loved script. And you'd think that they would be like, "Oh, we're not going to touch the script. The script is like holy writ." But they respected the script, the original script. But they found a way to contemporize it without wedging it into the story. It seemed very naturally to flow from the story. I mean, one of the guys, he is, he's a straight guy and he enjoys being a straight guy. The other guy, he realizes that, he puts on this outfit just to kind of save his life, but he puts on drag to kind of save his life, and it's a disguise. But after a while, he realizes that he isn't now wearing something that is a disguise anymore. He's revealing who he really is. And that was just what a terrific approach to that character. And it fits into the story just beautifully.
Okay. By the way, Iris, do you have any resolutions or any shout outs? Because I got to let you go to let somebody else into the Daverhood. So,
the only thing is that I just hope 2023 is an improvement over 2022. That's all, that's it, and I hope less people I know and less other people know get sick and die. Yeah, just put that on hold.
Yeah.
Put that on hold for a while.
Iris, I hope you are perfectly healthy and have a wonderful, wonderful year. We'll be talking soon. got to let you go from the neighborhood. Most happy and healthy New Year.
You too. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Now, Ron, I'm going to keep you here for a little bit, but I need to admit
Sure.
another guest in the neighborhood. Let me ask
Wow.
you, Robert Viagas,
Yes,
what was, besides theater, what was your favorite thing that happened this past year?
Well, Ron will understand this. I think my favorite thing that happened this year is I have been collecting theater ghost stories for 20 some years. And I do these lectures at libraries where I tell the ghost stories, and I tell the kind of theater history that goes along with it. And afterward, people would come up to me and say, "Do you have a book?" And I kept having to say, "No, I'm sorry, I don't have a book." But I changed agents, and my new agent sold my book, and it's called Good Morning Olive, which is a reference to Olive Thomas, the ghost who haunts the New Amsterdam Theater. And people who work there have to say good morning to her when they come in, or else stuff happens to them. They have a very, very active ghost at that theater. So this is a project that has been a project of the heart really for 2 decades. And I just was so happy when I opened up that box and I pulled those books out, that book that I imagined for so many years, I was just flying. So I would have to say that was the best thing that happened to me.
And how can people
in
get, it's
2020.
Robert Viagas's book, Good Morning Olive, available where? Or how, Amazon? Or
All bookstores, but also, I mean, Amazon.com. You can order it from any place that sells books or orders books. You can order from Barnes and Noble, et cetera, et cetera. It's also available in audiobook. Although you can't get CDs. I was very brokenhearted about that. But you can download it. I mean, a lot of people.
That should be appropriate if it were on 78s. Considering the stories you're telling, like Victrolas and things like that.
That's right. That's right. There's I have a wax tube that you can
But you
crank.
have to
the
put a
ghost
dog next
play
to
it,
it
yes.
to hear it. By the way, speaking of writing, I don't want to leave out our next guest in the. Don't go away, Robert. Robert,
I won't.
I have to let you go in a minute or two. But I do want to introduce a friend of the neighborhood. Speaking of writing, speaking of Broadway, John Peelmeyer, author of Agnes and a couple of other plays as well. Yeah. And a lot of stuff for television as well. So, John, welcome back to the neighborhood. How was your year? John.
Friggin' genius.
I'll mute your mic.
Don and Vicky together.
Oh, right.
Sorry. Is this better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, great. How's my year? I guess it was okay. I had some wonderful journeys that I took, and that was terrific.
You mean physical travel journeys, you mean?
Actual physical travel journeys, which I love to do and have been not able to do for the last couple of years. So that was wonderful. Those are probably the highlights of the year. And
Pick what was.
well, my wife and I went we spent a lovely week in Iceland, driving around the circuit.
Ronald Rand, I don't know if you know Ronald. Ronald.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I've interviewed John from my newspaper.
He was just there.
Yeah, I just was in Iceland too myself, all the way to Suðuroy to be part of the Act Alone International Theater Festival. And then I spent 4 or 5 days in Reykjavik. So I was there also.
It's a wonderful country and a lovely place. We
and
were there last June. We were there at the summer solstice and did the circle tour of the whole island of the country. It was phenomenal.
And the people are really, really lovely. I have to say.
It's just a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, since we're all, actually everyone here is a writer who's talking here. So what did you write this year? What was on TV? What scripts did you see?
Nothing was on TV. I didn't have anything on TV this year.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of, I wrote a sort of novella. I've been doing a lot of prose writing lately, and I've been I've been rewriting some longer novels and doing a lot of rewriting, and have written theatrically. I've written I wrote a few more. I have some comedy sketches that I have put together and have performed them and written a few new ones of those that a friend of mine, a partner of mine, and I performed together. And I have a new play that I've been working on. So lots of lots of things.
Can I ask you,
In the office.
I'm really curious about this because, you know, this is not the 1950s. It's not like you're a playwright, you have an agent, and it just, you know, goes to some Broadway theater, a few
Yeah,
months later.
yeah.
What do you do with a new play that you've
I have
written?
no idea. Please tell me. It's hard. It's really hard. A director friend of mine said that it's really hard for writers now, really to just send out scripts and say to a theater, say, please read my script. They won't do it. The theater often needs to have a push by someone other than the writer, a director, or an actor that they work with, or an actor that they know, who will say to them, you need to read this script.
Even,
Right?
so even an agent is not, wow. Oh, I'm
It's hard.
sorry.
It's really hard.
Well, I have to tell you, it was very interesting this past year because I finished, it took only 10 years, but I finished the libretto for my opera about Henrik Ibsen. Ibsen, it's the first opera ever written about Ibsen. And I did a lot of emailing to a lot of conductors and to a lot of artistic directors. And I never stopped until finally one actually said, yes, I will read it. And it happened to be one of the finest opera houses in the country. So
Wow.
you just persevere.
You just have to persevere. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we have to persevere with the show. So, Ronald, I'm going to let you go just so we can keep
Okay.
you rolling. But Ronald, what a great friend you've been in the Daverhood. It's so great
Thank
to have you on the Today, Yesterday quizzes.
Thank you.
Happiness, good stuff with the opera, good stuff keeping doing the Harold Clurman play.
Thank you.
See
I
you
so
very
appreciate it. And before I go, I stayed up all night last night trying to figure out where the sun was, and then it dawned on me.
Oh,
Just had to
you
throw a
couldn't have
joke
left
in there.
before you told the joke. Hang away to, no, it's a great one. Thank you, Ronald.
See you. All
Thank
right.
you. Ronald
Happy
Rand, ladies
New
and
Year.
gentlemen. Yeah,
Bye.
All right. Nice to see you both. Take
have a
care.
great one. Bye,
Thanks.
bye, Ronald.
Bye,
You guys
bye.
stick around just for a little bit because I'm going to talk to both of you and Robert Viagas as well. So, is there a show that you're specifically looking forward to in either the spring or next coming fall on Broadway? Is there something that you're like, oh, I want to see that?
Oh, there's so many shows that are coming up that are interesting me. One thing that I'm so surprised about, everybody was saying to me, oh, Broadway's going to take a couple years to crank up to get the level of production that it was before. And that turned out not to be the case. There's just a mob of shows that have been done. A lot of shows are now closing in January. Some of them because
That's always the case, though.
that's what I was about to say. That some of them are ending limited runs, and some of them have had healthy runs, and it's just that their time has come. And there's only 40 some theaters on Broadway, and if you want to have a new season, older shows have to close. I mean, Phantom is closing, etc. So I'm really interested. I just love so many different kinds of theater. I'm really looking forward to all the things that are coming in. Although, there have been a lot of revivals of Sweeney Todd, and I'm sure there are some people out there going, "What? We're going to see Sweeney Todd again?" But I really think Annalee Ashford is just a wonderful actress, and I think she's going to be a terrific Mrs. Lovett. And Josh Groban has a wonderful voice. We'll see what he can do theatrically. I do have his Broadway album, so he has shown that he can handle Sondheim. There's no question about it. I'm curious to see what they're going to do to it that's going to be different from the many, many others. And then there's going to be the Merrily We Roll Along that's done so well off Broadway. I'm interested in seeing that. But I'm very interested in seeing what some of these young writers, not Michael Jackson, the singer, but Michael Jackson, who wrote
Michael R. Jackson, the Strange Loop guy, right?
Right, Strange Loop. He has another show on deck that's going to be opening off Broadway this spring. And although I have to say that Strange Loop was not my favorite show of the year, he just had a wonderful voice. He had just a wonderful playwriting voice. And I am so interested to see what his sophomore effort is going to be. So those are some of the things that I'm looking forward to. It's Broadway, off Broadway. And the national touring scene has reawakened, like Sleeping Beauty was kissed by Prince Charming, and boom, we thought it was going to take years for the road to come back, and it has come roaring back already. So.
Well, it's people like you and your enthusiasm, and you're continuing to write and speak and do podcasts about the theater that help it boom, that you care about it and love it and write about it so well. Robert Viagas, everybody get his book, Good Morning Olive, about ghost stories in the American theater, and his older books about the Fantastics, about Chorus Line. Am I missing it? Well, you did one of the
I've published 21 books about theater, and I have another one coming in June. And this one is, I'm sorry that I don't want this to sound like a commercial, but I'm so excited about it. It's another one that has been percolating for years. They've written histories of theaters and histories of writers and histories of directors, but they've never written a history of the most important collaborator of all, and that is the audience. The audience has had this incredibly rich history down through the years, and it's changed, and what they want and what they think is funny and what they think is horrible and what they think is offensive and what they think is hilarious has changed so much over the years. And so it's called Right This Way, A History of the Audience. And that's coming out in June. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that out.
Well, I hope chapter 1 is about that woman at Death of a Salesman.
I mentioned the original opening night of Death of a Salesman, when the audience was so stunned at the end of the show, they didn't applaud, and everybody thought the show was a flop because nobody applauded, and it was because they were so stunned by what they had just seen. I have a wonderful story. I've gone actually into the National Archives, and I found accounts by people who were in the audience the night Lincoln was assassinated, and what it was like seeing him come in. And the Civil War had ended like 4 days before that. Appomattox had been earlier that same week. That was like Monday, and this was Friday. And they were so happy to hear him laughing at the jokes, like it did them right. Exactly. That's exactly. And you're just like, oh no, can he just keep laughing?
Well, aside from that, Mrs. Lincoln did enjoy the play, but
that's right. He actually died laughing. He died because. Yes, because Booth knew this because it was a very popular show, Our American Cousin, and he knew exactly where the laughs were, and he was hoping for the biggest laugh in the show to cover up the sound of the gunshot. And so Lincoln was in the midst of laughing when that gun went off, and the people in the audience watching this and seeing how they react to it. One of the guys says that he jumped up out of his seat and tried to chase John Wilkes Booth across the stage, but of course Booth knew the backstage area better than he did.
But broken leg. But Robert,
he said he got away, but I got the scoundrel's hat.
Oh, that's what's on eBay right there. Robert Viagas. These are reasons we have to buy his books. It's so great to see you happy, and healthy.
Thank you, and
yeah,
to you as well, my friend, and to all of us, and wonderful John Peelmeyer and Becca. I'm going to hang on and watch from the wings and see what you have to say.
I hope you watch the whole show, Robert. Just because you were on it, but yeah, you go.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, I'm interested. I'm drawn in. I want to hear what they have to say.
Well, that's wonderful, and Robert. It's so fantastic hearing you talk. Thank you.
You. Happy New Year.
Wow.
Have a great 23. Let's all hope it's better than 22.
Here's
Take care.